Yes, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant night, good evening, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in listening land on Facebook, on webinar, Zoom. Tonight, we're gonna join the conversation and hoping everybody out there is gonna join in with us. Have a special guest tonight, former co-worker and good friend of mine, Adriano Sally. Good to have you, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you for having me.
No, much appreciated, and I thank you for being on the forum tonight. We're inside the Tough Forum, and tonight we're going to be dealing with the topic of race, religion, and reform. And you're no stranger to the Tough Forum, Adriano. Thank you for coming through. Before we had a phone interview, we had some great discussions. As always, one thing I love about you, sir, is that you speak your mind. And sometimes what I like about you, because of all the people that I've worked with, even when we get into some arguments, some heated ones sometimes, we still come back. Okay, all right, you know what? We still remain friends. So I appreciate
Absolutely.
And I just want to let you know that this is a safe space that we're in tonight. So I got your back. And we're just here to have the conversation and really my platform is about. My platform is really about the fact that men are dying. Men are dying at an alarming rate, Adriano, as you know. You see it on the news, you see it around your community and everywhere happening. And we just want to have a dialogue and how we can change that trajectory. And just for those who might want to know or ask the question, why aren't we talking about women? Well, quite simply put, men are dying at 3 times the rate that women are. And when women are dying, they're also dying mainly at the hand of men. So this is a big topic tonight, Age, and I really appreciate that you can lend your voice to these topics. And you will be my first white guest. So with no further ado, thank you for being on here, sir. We're gonna jump right into it. If there's anybody that joins on via Facebook or webinar, you can feel free to write down your questions and we'll get to them as promptly as we can. But we're gonna start this conversation right in the hotspot, Age, and we're gonna go right into race. Right? Race. That's a hot button topic right now with what's going on in the world. Now, regardless of black, white, brown, Asian, Native American, Native Canadian, whatever race you are, first and foremost, I'll be remiss to say if we are not walking and living in the human race. And I think that's what we have to keep in the forefront of our mind is that it is a human race. And at the end of the day, whatever color of your skin, you're in front of me, you're a living human being, and I have to learn how to respect that space, respect who you are as an individual, and not judge you any other way. All right, sir?
Yeah. Right.
With that being said, Age, my first question for you is, our race relations today, and I asked you this before, in your opinion, are they better, are they worse, or are they basically the same? What say you?
Oh, they're obviously better considering what happened in the like hundreds of years ago, and even like 40 years ago, 30 years ago, blacks were not allowed in restaurants, or they had to get on the back of the bus.
Got
You
you.
can't drink from the same fountain.
Yeah.
And even having a biracial relationship was, forget about it. Someone was going to be murdered. So now it just seems a lot better. It's not perfect,
Right.
but things have improved over the years, whether it was from law or just people just accepting it, like, because love has no color.
Right.
So, and it's just, and those people that think like that, like just by being racist, they're dying off.
Mhm.
They're dying off, and just people are learning, like the younger generation, every generation is starting to accept things and accept people. And that's my opinion.
Got you. Yeah, and that's fair. And that's fair. I like what you said. I agree with what you said in one regard when you said that a lot of the people who started the plight or started the hate, so to speak, of racism and supremacy, white supremacy, and such. That group of people, I believe, yes, are slowly fading away. They're up in the 100-year-old category, whatever, right? And I know it stems down even to the children, but even when it stems to the children, I think it's more diluted because they're going off of their their parents or other generations perspective of what hate is, right? And there's plenty of people, even people we see right now, their children, you might label the parents as bigots or racist, but you can't tell me that their children are not listening to certain music
Mm.
by black people, wearing clothing lined by black people, etc. So I think that is to your point, true. I, however, disagree in the regard that although things may have been better, there's still a problem systemically that we face. And because of that, I think some of the things, in my opinion, Age, are somewhat the same, just in a different methodology, if I could use that term, because we have a terminology that we use in our community where it's like the government has released the chain, but they have used their brain. So that just simply means that, though you may not see people in shackles and slavery, we're still going through that motion. You get what I'm saying? No, you understand what I'm saying? So that you don't see that physical chain and people walking around and being whipped or whatever, but you're still under that same governmental power. You understand what I'm saying by that? So now it's brain situation.
But aren't we all like
Say that.
controlled from the government? Like, so whether it's black or white, Asian, like we're all like under that umbrella.
Yeah, and that's what I
So
said. So the chains have been released, but the brain is now being utilized and saying, because if you look, you're getting free labor in prisons, right? Still doing what you were doing before. Before it wasn't free. It was like, come here, do my work, right? And now it's not just black. It's spread across many areas, whether you're poor or whatever. So that's what I meant by that. So
yeah.
that's why I think there's some things that are different with that. Good point though. So what does okay, before I go into this other question, so then with that being said, do you think that since I said things are somewhat the same but worse in areas, do you believe that there is systemic racism?
I I hate to say it, but I think there is. You can see it just on the news. You can see it just even on social media. Does it exist? Yeah. And you can't like deny it. Like you see it every day. You see it on the news or you see it on social media, and you see like it's obvious. And
Do you see it in your workplaces?
no, actually, no, I don't.
Oh, okay.
No, 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 not at work. No, no, I've never seen that. No,
You
no.
haven't seen systemic racism like being demonstrated in your work through powers that be, people that may not look like me in certain areas of power, and I haven't seen that.
No.
Okay, cool, cool. So we touched on this question the other day, and I want to hear what you're saying. I like your stance on it. So let's go there. When we're talking about defunding the police, as we said, we're living in a time, right, in a climate where we're hearing this type of narrative. It's been coming from mainly the Black community, from Black Lives Matter groups and some other groups, saying we want to defund the police. Adriana, what does defund the police mean to you?
I mean, just leave them alone.
Pardon me? Defund the police means leave them alone?
Leave them alone. Don't defund them because you, like I said to you before too,
Yeah,
there are some bad apples
yeah.
in the church. But when the collection plate comes along, you don't say, "Hey, I'm not giving you anything because there was a priest that molested someone in Boston." Like it just there are some bad apples, but to put an entire organization when they put their lives at risk every day, and then you want to take some of their work, like some of the stuff that there is to protect them and make them better people and better officers, and you want to take that away. Well, then, and if you want less police officers, then like I said to you, then I could go rob a bank because there'll be less police officers on the street, so I can rob a bank, and instead of 5 minutes, hey, I got 15.
So this is where me and you disagreed last time, because I was saying, you're saying to me right now, take away officers, take away money, or take away, it doesn't seem to me that defunding is taking away officers. It's not taking away their jobs. It's not saying, when you're using the analogy, or stealing from an offering plate, or there's a few bad apples. I think few bad apples speaks to the brutality, or the corruption. That's few bad apples. When we're talking about defunding, age, I believe that simply means we're taking money that was probably allocated to the police department and saying, instead of them getting $1 million, they can get $750,000, and 25,000 can go to something else. So when we have people who have mental illnesses, and policers call for everything, now be straight with me. You know that police are being called for every little thing, right?
Yeah.
They don't need to be called for. So I think defunding, in my opinion, is actually helping the police to a degree, because they don't have to be called for every single call. Like, oh, I got a cat stuck in the tree. I got a bicycle that 4 kids are trying to steal, right? They have murderers, they got drug dealers, they got all kinds of racketeering, all kinds of things to deal with out there. So defunding means, listen, instead of I'm calling the police to come to a mental issue, and that person might end up dying because they be shot, we can have a social worker or somebody who can de-escalate the situation. That's what I believe. You're saying no. You don't think that's what?
No, because you need someone there now. You don't need
Why
someone.
can't? Okay, so are you saying it's only the police officer that can be there now? You're saying a social worker cannot be there alongside that person?
But then you have to, if you want a social worker, then you have to have someone on site. So the police officer has to have someone in the vehicle with them, and that doesn't grow on trees.
This is my point. If we allocated certain money to a police department, right? So we have someone on site, or have a office with certain, every division has people who are trained in this regard. So when they're called out to a location, and the people are telling them, this guy or this woman has a mental issue,
Yeah.
we know, okay, call such and such, come with me. And we're not expecting officers who are not trained for that, and they're coming guns blazing. That's why.
Well, okay, but if you recall, remember that young lady in downtown?
Yeah, that they said it was off the balcony and dropped.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
they actually had on site, one of the police officers was trained from one of the main hospitals downtown to deal with mental illness.
yeah,
He was trained and he was in that room. He was in that apartment when that
yeah,
all happened.
yeah,
So
yeah. So I agree. Okay, good example.
it
There was
happens.
somebody
Like
in the
people
room
still are gonna like
that
take their lives
plenty
or something's
times
still
age.
gonna happen.
Even weeks after that, the gentleman that got shot in Malton, that street was locked down for weeks because
Yeah.
there wasn't anybody there to de-escalate the situation. They saw a knife and it was like, put it down, and eventually the man lost his life. What I'm saying is defunding, in my opinion, is not to take away money so that we have fewer officers. You still have the same officers, you're getting paid. It's just that the resources are going to be allocated to somewhere, to people who can actually de-escalate, rather than we're having someone who's trained in the in the fighting area or the shooting area. You understand what I'm saying? He's not coming with his medical degree. He's coming with his badge's gun, his billy bag, right? So that's what I was talking about. So we disagree on that with the defunding, but that's what we hear calling for. And I think that the issue needs to be talked a little bit more about so that we can understand, because just like what you said right off the bat, a lot of people are here saying, oh, we can't take away the police officers. We can't,
No.
and that's not what we're doing. I think that's two different things. And when you're talking about the bad apples age, I think that speaks to just the police brutality of it. That's not talking about defunding either, right? That's just talking about, we do have some people who commit, they're just bad cops, period, right? But that, we're not saying to defund and then take out bad apples. We're saying defund so that we can train people or have people who have the training and put them to use. That's what we're saying there, okay? You can speak and say, I know, because you're like, I don't know, buddy.
Well, it's like what was like in the States when they had those issues where someone would get shot, like they would actually punish that state, punish that precinct by saying, hey, we're going to take officers away. We're going to take money out and we're not going to have more officers on the street. And if you notice, some of those incidences, those police stations, people just resigned.
Yes.
So now you got to start from scratch. Now you got to find like
Yeah.
all new officers, and that's going to be a problem
Mhm.
because there are people that have been doing that job for like 20 years
Yeah.
and they serve and protect.
And the
And
people that resigned, though, age, that wasn't because a defunding was put into it, right? They said, look, I don't like what's being thrown my way, accusationally. So if you think this is what I'm doing and you're labeling me as a bad cop, and then you're going to paint everybody with the brush, that's what
yeah,
happened, right? So, and it's sad. Yeah, it's sad. And whose fault is it? No one's looking blame here. We're just trying to say, how do we have the
yeah,
come to a general consensus where we're helping the individual rather than killing or taking away their life? And that's what we're talking about, where we want to stop the trajectory of losing lives. I'm speaking with Adriano and Sally tonight. He's in the tough forum, and we're dealing with race, religion, and reform. And we started right off the bat with race, and I thank you for your candor, sir, and we're going to continue. So outside of that, let me ask you another question. We talk about this all the time. We laugh. I know when we're talking about caravan, and you're like, "Oh, Carl, don't go, don't go." So, when you hear the term gangbangers, what group of people do you think most people are referring to?
or what? I'm sorry.
When you hear the term gangbanger, who
Yeah,
do you think society or people are referring to when they use that terminology?
I think the stereotype would be like someone wearing like a red bandana or a blue bandana, someone that lives in a bad neighborhood, someone of color, unfortunately, that would be the stereotype.
Right.
I
Yeah, yeah.
think that would be it.
Thank you. And I'm glad that you're honest about that because, you know, I don't know whose fault that is. I think it's just because every time you have pundits put in their 2 cents, you hear that terminology when we hear a lot of shootings. Now, we've talked about this in the other side, and we know that, yes, a lot of the street shootings that we've seen are committed by people of color, Black people. And then they're labeled as gangbangers. My thing is, isn't someone who's in a bike gang, for say the Hells Angels, just to put a name out there, and other gangs, are they not gangbangers too? Are they not gangsters? Why is it, does it seem that it just put to people of color or in a neighborhood or wearing the blue and the red? Why are not organized crimes mobsters called that then?
What, like, not like, to be honest, like
Yeah.
when you see someone like in the mafia or even like in like Hell's Angels, they are quiet when they do stuff or when they don't do stuff. You will never, like, you would rarely hear some, like once in a while you would hear something,
Mhm.
but they don't make a lot of noise, like everyday noise.
Okay.
I think that's the
And that's why
difference.
you believe they're not classified as gangsters or gangbangers?
No, it's they're the same. They're gangsters. They're gangsters,
Okay. We're
but
talking
they're
about race here.
quiet.
So listen, don't listen. It's a free space, buddy. Say what you want to say on your mind. You're talking like you're talking to me, right? No one's
Yeah.
gonna for saying what you're saying. But it's something that needs to be said, right? It's an uncomfortable situation, but it is what we hear. So on the other side of it, when I hear that, I know they're speaking about Black people, right? And I'm saying that when we're trying to deal with the issue of people are dying, period, there shouldn't be, it should be just, if you're going to have a terminology, then I think it should be broad to everybody, every spectrum, because the next question I have to ask you is about carding. And when we talk about carding, it seemed like carding, when it was instilled, it just catered or focused, honed in mainly on Black people. And I was wondering why that is. So just to your point, okay, a guy was wearing a red bandana, a blue bandana, a toque. Let's check him out. What's happening with the Hells Angels that's riding down the street 50 deep? You know what I mean? You're trying to tell me they have on their bandanas, they got their tattoos and whatever. They're not getting pulled over. That's not the demographic we're here getting pulled over. When you go to certain places in where you know monsters are or whatever, right? Wherever the areas are, I'm not gonna call it areas, right? They're not getting pulled over as frequent. And you're saying it's because of the loudness, because of that's what it is?
I I don't know, Carl. I'm I don't know why white people on motorcycles don't get pulled over.
Yeah. And well,
I
so I thank you for your honesty. And these are some of the issues where we don't want to conflate just, um, one group of people to something, and then it becomes so, blown out of proportion. Because I told you, we have stats. I've been checking the stats, you know what I mean? Blacks do a number of crime the same as whites, as Asians, et cetera, right across the board. But it just seems to be that all the time Blacks are overrepresented with the crimes and stuff. And even though we see a level of gun violence, and I'll be the first to say, yes, it's happening within our community. I'm tired of it. This is what
mm,
started this. I don't want to see it, right? But with that being said, there's another thing happening. There's mass shootings happening that's not committed by our color. You understand what I'm saying? And that's people dying too. The
yeah.
situation, there's people dying, right? The thing that happened in BC the other day, that's multiple people died in one shot, but because it happened so sporadically or sorry, so infrequently, I guess, then the numbers don't seem to, you understand what I'm saying? So let's just be clear and say, listen, call badness bad, gangsterism right across the board, and the fact that whatever race you are, if you're in the crime field, you're doing something bad. Let's target that.
Mm,
And the reason why I believe carding went out is because it was used improperly. If it was used at every crime wave, every area, if they went to Woodbridge, if they went to not just Rexdale, if they went not just to Regent Park, they went to Rosedale, wherever these crimes are committed, and they checked out, because police know, they have intel, they know what
mhm.
the crimes are. So spread that carding right across the board, Age. I think we would have a different outcome. Your last word on that, and we'll get out of the race.
In Chicago, I still remember this. In Chicago, when the police officers would card people, the officers will get in trouble. Like these people, the civilians will call the unit, and then they make a complaint, and these officers get reprimanded, or
Yeah.
just there's an investigation. So the mayor of Chicago said himself, the police officers in Chicago will not card anyone anymore because they don't want to deal with it, with the
Yeah.
headache.
Yeah.
They don't want to do their job anymore because they realize, like, hey, if I let this suspicious person at 3 o'clock in the morning go, I'm not going to get in trouble. And they will let them go. And even here in Toronto, when I'm pretty sure it was the chief of police said himself, like, we need to keep this going because once it stops, there's going to be issues. And then sure enough, like I remember when they stopped it, it was like the next day someone got murdered, and then the day after someone got murdered, and it seems like it's every day here.
Yeah.
Every day, it's almost like, I swear, it's like, and I said to you, it's like a car accident on the 401. You
Yeah.
would hear like a car accident, like, and it's someone died, someone got
Yeah.
murdered, and
I'm an
it
assault.
just
Yeah.
and you become numb to it now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Another problem. Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
So, a nice segue out of races to say that there is only one race in the body of Christ, and that's the Christian race, right? Well, let's get into religion, the medium between the two hot topics here. So, you're a God-fearing man. You go to church and you believe in God. Um, do you believe males have a greater hope or chance when they come from a two-parent home? And why I say that is because a lot of times you hear of two-parent homes. Usually they're coming from not usually, well, a great deal of the time they believe in moral values. They believe in
Mm.
having children through wedlock, etc. And we see that example demonstrated in the church. That's something that we believe in 100%, right? And in the world view, they have it like, yeah, just do what you want to do. You can be common law and live here, and you live in your separate home. So with that being said, Adrian, I want to ask you, do you believe that males fare better coming out of a two-parent home than
Oh, what? I'm sorry. What was that?
do they fare better in society, in life, going the opposite way of bad because they come from a two-parent home, or are they worse because they come from a single-parent home?
I don't know, because I know people that have been raised just by one parent, and it's effort. It's effort from the parent, and it's up to the parent what's important. If faith is very important to them, and they will like push it into their kid growing up,
Right?
or their children growing up. So I've seen like single parents raise children, and they're fine.
That's right.
So it's a lot of work, but it's possible. It's possible to do it on your own. If it's very important to you, then you push it into your children, right?
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
you have two parents, it is easier.
Yes. I agree.
Both have the same faith, so.
I agree with you 100%. And I only brought it up because I know that, we see that a lot in our church growing up. And we see that and we expect that, right? I expect that from even my children, even though they may not have walked that way. And I know that your parents were God-fearing people, went to church. And I figured that's how come you started going to church, right?
Well, I used to go when we were younger because I didn't
Right.
have a choice, right? But
Yeah, most of us.
right, but then when I got older, it's like, no, I don't want to go. And
Okay.
then, like, I don't want to, like, it's Sunday morning, I'm lazy, leave me alone. So then my father would just go by himself. But
Yeah.
then, like, I don't know, like the last maybe like 5, 6 years, I wanted to do this for myself,
Good.
right? So made the conscious effort to go. It's not because I have to, it's because I wanted to,
Yes, that
right?
started
Because
somewhere though, age. Your parents did something. They said the Bible says train up a child, right, in the way that they should grow, right? That when they're old, like yourself now, old boy, you will not depart from it, right? So you see something came back and said, whoa, whoa, I got to get myself in there.
yeah,
But
but
I do agree with you.
I did it myself, right? And
Yeah.
then like, and part of this being like now in a different neighborhood, it's like I go there on Sundays because
Mhm.
not because I have to, it's because I want to.
Good stuff.
So so now it's like part of like my DNA. Every Sunday morning we go.
You had a sister too, right?
Yes.
Was it easier for her going to church than you?
No, it was about the same.
Oh
It
yeah.
was about the same. It's the same. But she's not going now.
Okay.
But it's a choice, right? We all
Got
have a
you.
choice, and when the time is right, you figure it out and you do it, right? Some people
Right.
have to do it because they're pushed into it, and that's not the right way. Like you have to do it because you want to.
I hear you. So why do you believe church and God are so hard to talk about, especially the men?
I don't think they are at all.
You don't think so?
No, because we have a lot of conversations about that in the past, and I don't think
Who's
it's
we?
hard.
When you say when you say we,
You and I.
no, yeah, you and I talk about it because
Yeah.
I'm gonna instill that all the time when I can, right? I'm a believer. I believe.
Hmm.
I always talk about it, and I see that you have that in you. So I'll bring it up. But I'm saying in general, if I'm not in the mix, are you talking about God? Is that a topic that we're talking about? Or are we talking about the football game? Are we talking about something else?
Well, there are people that I work with that would just randomly ask or like say something to me, like, "Do you believe?" And I'm like,
Oh
"Yeah,
yeah.
I do." And they would say, "Why?" And I'd say, "Well, A, B, C."
Okay.
And then, and if they stop, then they stop. I don't want to push them. But then if they ask some more, then I would say, "Okay, D, E, F, H,"
Okay.
and then I just continue because there are some people that I work with that are very enlightened in what I say because they realize like, okay, this makes sense. This guy's not talking stupid. Like he's not saying I don't know. It's just like I have answers to your questions.
Right. Okay.
So, but it's not like, hey, did you go to church on Sunday instead of like, hey, did you watch the game last night? It's a different
Yeah.
conversation, and some people are not comfortable talking about it because
That's right. And this is why I'm asking the question. And
yeah.
I think it has a lot to do with what we're seeing happening in the streets too, right? God is just out of the mind. It's like evil is prevailing in their lives because God is not being talked about. So for you, 5 years ago or whenever it was, you said, the light bulb clicked into you and you said, you know what, man, I gotta go to church. I gotta get back there. What was it that triggered you? Or what was it that you said, I gotta go?
I can't narrow it down to like a day, or I just had a thought like, you know what, like this might be good for your inner peace.
Hmm.
This might be a good thing just to do by yourself, for yourself, and just sit, listen, and just have peace inside your soul, inside your head. Even
I
just
see.
for 1 hour, just sit and listen and just be at peace. And you
Yeah,
know what?
okay.
And then
All right,
make
buddy. I'll let you get off with that one. I'd like to think it's probably your wife of was it 2 years now? Is that Daniela? She has something to do with it because I remember
no, it was the other way around.
I know who you are.
It
Eh?
was the other way
It
around.
was the
I
other way
asked her
around.
to
You
go.
pulled her in.
Yeah.
It's yeah, okay, age. But I seen subtle changes in you, Adriano. So I can say from the person I knew you were at one point, and I said, age, when you said you're getting married, I was like, what? What? So kudos to you, and I'm glad that you put God in your life and you definitely believe that. And we
Oh,
need
he was always there.
Yeah, we need that, but
Yeah,
you
it's always
though,
there, but you got to
you
find
yourself
it.
said though, it's something you don't want to talk about. I don't want to go. I want to sleep, right? So that's why I'm bringing it up. I'm only bringing it up because we're in religion, right? You know, I had to come off a race. We're in religion. We know we're living as a Christian body. We're in the Christian race, right? When we're talking about race, regardless of what color we are, we're in the human race. So in the Christian race, we have to figure out what we're doing in this walk of life that we can preserve life, right? And that people are not dying. And my platform, as you know, is Men Are Dying, brother. And today is F-Bomb Friday. You know what that means, brother? That's finally bringing our men back, right? So it's something that I brought up because I thought of because we need to bring our men back, man. We're losing men at a high rate. I'm sure in the dating world it's probably lopsided because it's probably 7-1, right? How much women are out there can't even find a good man, right? We got to figure. You're laughing. Say something.
I
A
don't know.
few things about the dating world, right?
No, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. I don't want to know.
All right, all right. I'm speaking with Adriano and Sally, former co-worker of mine, good friend of mine, who's come on tonight on the Tough Forum. We're dealing with race, religion, and reform. And yes, my brother from another mother, you're on the other side, I'm on the other side, and sometimes we see things different, but nonetheless, we're losing men, and you know you see that every day. I'm
Hmm.
change that trajectory. So let's get into reform then, Age. When we're talking about reform, such as police reform, justice and systemic reform, and educational reform, what do you say to people? I asked you this question before. I like your answer. I want to hear some, and I like you sometimes when I give you a question, you're like, huh. Other questions are offhand beforehand. So I said, what do you say to people of color, people who are black, people like me, who who for like 50, 60 years ago were protesting and today still protesting and seeing very little systemic change? What do you say to someone like that? From a person who's not black, obviously. Like how can you instill encourage somebody or say, hey, what is it that you would say to somebody when you see this?
Oh man, that's I don't
Yeah,
know.
you're in the tough form.
I don't know. It's like you can't. Do you tell the person keep on trying? Like because when you've been doing it like your entire life
Right.
and you don't see the results you want, you're gonna get tired, and you're not. It's yeah. I don't know. I really don't know what to say to that. Like it's
Age,
not.
you're not the only one. And I'm a black person. I've seen it. My folks went through it, and their folks went through it, and we're still seeing it. So I have the same answer. I saw it too, and I'm like, what do you do? But just like you're right, you got to keep on fighting. You got to keep on doing the right things. And for the most part, not most part, but for some things that we see happening, I think it's because people are fed up. People are just saying, you know what, there's no better way, or this is the way I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make it. You know, that's what I see happening. So when you see even certain things happening in the world today, like protests and violence and people saying, I'm gonna burn down or I'm gonna break and whatever, it's them lashing out because they're frustrated. They're like, there's no change. That's what I see from my side, right? And to your point, yeah, it's hard to say to somebody, keep on going, because in this time of my life age, I would have never thought that, you know, after Martin Luther King died, after all the things that we saw play out on TV in front of our eyes, that we can still be in a system or in a world that allows certain things to happen. You know what I mean? And things that are not being changed in the law, in legislature. It's mind blowing. So yeah, I don't know. Just like you, I don't know. I don't know, but we got to keep on fighting. So I know. When you see some of these kids, man, out there, you see some even adults, some people our age, and they're not going the path that you know they should be going, and you want to say to them, "Yo, give your head a shake, buddy." What message would you use or give to someone to change their way of negative thinking?
I don't know if you can change them. They have to change themselves.
Okay.
There needs to be that, like, they have that epiphany, like that moment of truth to realize, like, I'm not on the right path.
Mm-hmm.
I need to make a change. But they need to change themselves. And I don't know, it's like I said to you before, you can lead a horse to water,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's, you can get someone on the right path and talk all you want, and sometimes maybe it's stubbornness or laziness, or they realize, like, hey, like, doing the wrong thing can make me a lot more money. It's up to the person to decide when the time is right to do the right thing. Like, and sometimes just being in the environment, just hanging around the wrong people,
Yeah,
they can lead you down the wrong path very
that's true.
quickly.
That's true. But I
So
think you can still, yeah, I get what you're saying, that it's up to that individual. The onus is on them. But don't you believe that, if you see somebody, maybe it's your family member, your little nephew or whatever it is, right? Cousin, and you see them going down the wrong way, hanging with the wrong crowd. Don't you think that there's something that you could probably say that will actually, give their head a shake and say, whoa, yeah, you're right.
yeah, but you can say your piece, but the person might sneak around and
Yeah.
just, like, it's up to the individual. Like, you can shake them all you want,
Yeah.
but sometimes, like, it's the person's got to find out the hard way,
Yeah.
right?
Unfortunately, age, what I'm seeing is that the people that are finding out the hard way is the last way. You know what I mean? That's the last.
Yeah.
They're done. It's done. There's no turnaround. There's no chance for them again. So I'm trying at this point of my life to say, okay, let's. Now I hear what you're saying, but I think there is a little bit more that we can do, and in that regard, we gotta stop. We gotta not stop. We gotta keep trying too. So whatever inspirational words we can give, whatever encouragement we can give that can turn around somebody, I think it's in our best interest to do the same thing. So that's why I asked a question, because I'd hate to see, my family member going down the wrong road, someone that looks up to me and
Hmm.
like, oh man, this guy's not gonna get it. So that's why I asked a question anyway. But you're right, it is tough, and the onus is on the individual. All right. So we're in reform. So where do you place the blame for the wayward and evil things that you see? I call it wayward, but it's straight up evil. So where do you place the blame on those things that you see happening in around the city, and how does that stop? Yeah, nothing easy,
Oh,
nothing easy here, man.
I I don't know. I don't know, Carl. It's the environment, it's the people you hang out with. It might be social media, doing, like, looking at, you know, like, having expensive taste, but living on, like, on a poor man's wage, trying to get the easy way into that lifestyle.
Right.
So I don't know. I I don't know.
Yeah. You see, yeah, that's where we at right now. And I personally, I don't like the answer for myself, right? When someone asks me that question, or when I'm looking on somebody that I see up and coming, and they're just going down that road, you know what I mean? When I look, listen, when I started this platform, it wasn't specifically geared to one age group. When I'm saying men, I'm talking men right across the board, from young boys to men. You know what I mean? Some men are acting like boys. When you
Mhm.
young boys that are 14, 15, 16 carrying arsenal that they have no business knowing about, you have to think there's somebody higher up that is actually getting these guns for them, right? When you see people in organized crime and doing multi-million-dollar deals and have Ferrari and mansions set up with gambling and women coming through. That's another level. And they're implementing this or putting this in, inoculating young kids growing up. So it's not just geared to just the 25-year-olds that we see, you know, killing each other on the streets through stabbings, through van running over or mass shootings or whatever. The fact of the matter is that why can't we change the mindset somewhere? Why can't we speak to somebody and make it click? I don't know when you were in maybe junior high or something and some algebra didn't kick in and your teacher sat you down and said, okay, Age, this is what the bedmas means, right? And you're like, okay. You understand what I'm saying? Do you know that gratification that teacher must have felt when he says it's actually sinking into your head? That's where I'm at right now. When I see this, I want to get to somewhere where I can speak to somebody and say, why are you doing this? Change. Why is it that I can look on you across the aisle and feel like you're looking at me a certain way that's disrespectful? I'm going to take your life. What gives me that right? Why can I not talk to you or articulate myself plainly enough that you understand I'm not comfortable with how you're looking at me? And these are things I need to get through to the minds of people. And it may be that is we didn't start early enough age, but that's why I'm saying that. I'm tired of the I don't know for myself.
I think just because they're young, they're stupid, and
Just
they
because they're
don't.
young.
What's that?
Did you say we think that, or do you think that's a misconception that
Well,
people because they're young?
well, it's because they're young and they think they're invincible.
Okay.
So if someone looked at me funny, then I can do something. I can cause that person harm. But they're young. They don't get it that they're going to take someone's life and someone one day will do that to them.
Yeah.
And that's why you see like you don't see like old like people in gangs or like they don't live. They don't live to tell the
Right.
story.
Right. Yeah.
It's the young people that are doing this. Like when I watch the news, I don't see no 45-year-old gangbanger getting shot because they don't exist.
I,
And
they don't. They,
no. And then
they
like
do. They do.
and then what?
They do. I know what you're talking about. It may not be so prevalent like the 20s, but there's still people that are getting shot in organized crime, people who are in petty
True,
people
true.
our age dying. Yeah. Remember I told you it's not just a specific age group because the majority is in this age group. You get what I'm saying? The fact of the matter is men are dying. The person that came to Oshawa, right, the other day to kill that whole family, right? It
Yeah.
someone that was 25, brother. You know what I'm saying? He killed a teacher, his three children was, and the wife got shot too, which was his sister.
Yeah. Well,
You know what I'm saying?
because the person traveled from Winnipeg to Oshawa and he already had a mental illness.
Yeah.
And then there was money involved. And
And what does that make it better?
no, absolutely
The
not.
point is
But
though, I hear what you're saying. So what I'm saying is, yeah, they may be far and few between. Men are still dying, and people are still dying at different age groups, right? Just because we see the majority happening in a certain age group, the fact of the matter is this is happening right across the board. And if you look at total and put it together, it looks way bigger than just the majority that we're focusing on. You understand what I'm saying? So don't get it twisted. There's people our age that are out there dying because they're the ones that's probably recruiting these young guys. They're probably the ones that are housing these young guys. They're probably the ones that are not steering that child away into the education world, into the workforce. They're saying, you know what, come under my wing, and they're looking at them as a role model. And those people are eventually going to die also because they're in that lifestyle. So it's broad age. I'm gonna make it plain like that. And if we stop thinking like so small and thinking like, oh, they're young and invincible, they think they're invincible, we'll keep it to that demographic, but it's bigger than that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, Age, if you had the power, this is my last question for you on reform. If you had the power and you were in a place of power, what would you, Mr. Adriano Chensali, say? You know what? I'm changing this. I am changing this law to make things better. What would it be that you put forth and say, this is my reformation plan?
You know what? I
Mhm.
I remember just even a few years ago, years back, it was,
Mhm.
and I think you would recall this too. There used to be police raids. SWAT would show up like into like units all across like Toronto, and they would sweep out these buildings and take out the bad guys and take away their big guns.
Yeah.
You don't hear about that anymore. They don't do that anymore. They rarely do that. I don't hear about them. You would hear it like once a month,
Oh, okay.
and they would take a lot of guns and bad people off the streets. I think
Happening, but go ahead.
they almost have to go back down that road. I think that would be a good thing.
So you would bring in more raids.
Yeah, well, it's they're not going to raid like like going to the grocery store, but they do like investigations. They watch the people, they
Yeah.
investigate, and then when the time is right, they do it.
Yeah, I've been keeping my ear to the streets with that, and you're right. I don't think I used to hear them a lot more. I would say probably in the '90s, but yeah, we've had a few. They've shown you know, the merchandise on tables, man. Long guns, handguns, drugs, ecstasy, fentanyl, all kinds of rings that they busted. So up to the other day, there was a mansion that as I alluded to earlier on, the mansion
Yeah,
that was broken up. They had millions of dollars and drugs and
gambling and women in there.
gambling.
Yeah.
So and that wasn't just a 2-day investigation. So I think the reason why we don't see so many is because the 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 criminal element is getting a little more smarter, more advanced. We have technology that we didn't have back then. So they're eluding the police more, and it takes a longer time. So I think that speaks to that. But yeah, I guess what you're saying, you probably put more concentration on that and try to get more people off the streets. But with reform, we see that people are going in, but they're coming back out, Age. It's like it's a revolving door.
Hmm.
Yeah, so there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Okay, Age. Thank you for your time tonight. Our time is almost up. I'm just gonna let you say what you want to say right now. At this time, I give you a time to just who you want to shout out or anybody you want to acknowledge. And then after that, I'll just give my 1 minute commentary and we'll dismiss. There's no questions out there.
Well, I just want to say to everyone, God bless, be safe. Let's do the right thing. It's hard, but let's do it, and let's do it together. Peace. Let's try to achieve peace in yourself, in our communities. And I'd like to thank you, Carl, for doing this and asking me to do this. I really do appreciate. And I also want to thank our officers, our frontliners for doing a great job.
All
And
right.
that's it.
Shout out to those frontline workers and officers doing their good job. Thank you.
And don't defund the police.
Pardon me.
And don't defund them. Give them more. They deserve more.
You're entitled to your opinion, and we're gonna leave it there. But thank you very much for your time, Adriano. I appreciate it for coming on the Tough Forum and adding to this conversation. It was very important and well needed. And I, wish you all the best for you and your family, your lovely wife, and your new union and what you're doing. And I just wish you all the best, man. Keep smiling, buddy, and keep in God, because man, there's nothing out there, man, right now. There's nothing out there for us, buddy. So yes, thank you time. So right now, I'm going to finish with this commentary and I'll see you on the other side, all right? Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to another F-Bomb Friday. F-Bomb Friday. Yeah, we're trying to finally bring our men back. And I've been speaking with my friend Adriano Sally. Tonight, I just want to say to the people that too many bad elements in the streets. They're out there saying, don't work hard. You heard the saying anyway, don't work hard, work smart. Well, it's in my opinion that when you decide to get in the fast lane, you automatically have to work the hardest. Those law-abiding citizens are not out there. Many are out there working hard. Many are out there working harder. And it may not be the fast lane. It may be slow to some, but it also is the safest lane. My question is tonight, why do some choose to work the hardest? Trying to lie and cheat. I mean, in the streets, you have to have aliases just so someone doesn't call you, by your right name and then you're pinned. Trying to stay unnoticed when making a lot of money, which is very hard to do. If you're making money and you have a significant other, they want you to spend on them, you're gonna splurge it sometime. People are seeing this. Trying to rob and kill and stay one step ahead without slipping up. These are all the things that someone in the criminal element has to go through. That is the hardest. So finally, trying to stay alive, and you're so far gone in a life that you can't escape without losing your life. So tonight I'm saying to everybody that's in that element, change your mindset while you still can. Don't get over your head or your head will inevitably be under the earth. This is Andrew signing out for Tough Forum. Once again, thank you for tuning in. You can check me out on www.toughforum.com. That's my website for more episodes. You can get at me on Instagram, Tough Forum. You can like me on Facebook at Tough Forum. So that's where I am, man. Soon I'll try to get some more things going on. But it was good to have you on tonight, Adrian, as my guest. And we'll be in touch one more time. You have a good night, sir.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Bless you, sir.
And God bless Canada.